system, it is highly essential, sir.
Yes, now it's compulsory. We have to practice.
Yes, sir. Yes,
There
sir.
is no other option.
We have to practice, sir. Thank you, sir, Dr. Barla Tirupati garu. So we are closing the first session, sir. So thank you very much for your first talk of this workshop of national this online teaching practices. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jagannath Reddy. Thank you, Padmarao garu, for your support. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, sir. Bye. So now we will go into the next session. Dr. Balaji from JNU, New Delhi. Sir, sir, namaste, sir.
Good morning.
Are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Can
sir,
you
how
hear?
are you, sir? Yes, sir. Clearly, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir. It is a little bit delay.
No problem.
Some technical problem is there in the voice, and myself and some problem is there. That's why it was delayed. So anyhow, sir, welcome to our workshop, sir, regarding this online best teaching practices, learning methods. And our students and faculty members are eagerly waiting for your talk, sir. Now I request our faculty member Sagar. Sagar, hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am audible, sir.
Yeah, you are audible, clear. So now I request Assistant Professor Mr. Vidyasagar to introduce our today's next speaker, Dr. B.S. Balaji, who is a very good speaker, and he is a speaker of this Swayam online platform also. Now I request Sagar to introduce our speaker to the audience. Over to Sagar, please.
Yes, good morning, sir. Good morning to one and all. This is PSR Vidyasagar from Department of Chemistry. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce Dr. B.S. Balaji Garu to this webinar. Dr. B.S. Balaji is presently working as Associate Professor from School of Biotechnology, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. And he worked as an Associate Professor in Geetham School of Technology, Geetham University, Bangalore Road, Karnataka. And he worked as Associate Professor from Vijnan University, Vadlamudu, Guntur District, Andhra Pradesh. And he worked as an Assistant Professor from Faculty of Science and Technology, FI group of institutions. And he worked as domain expert in Parthis Reverse Informatics, Chennai, India. And he worked as research associate from the University of Missouri, Columbia, Missouri, USA. And he done his postdoctoral fellow in the University of Missouri, Columbia. And he worked as senior manager R&D and Sushan Chemicals and Drugs Limited, Chennai. And he got some researches and awards. And he got JRF and SRF from Council Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi. And he worked as research associate from Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, New Delhi. And he got a COE postdoctoral fellowship from Hokkaido University, Sapporo, Japan. And he also got some research fellowship from NIH ICMIC P50 grants USA. And under his administrative responsibilities, he acted as a coordinator engineering chemistry and acted as a coordinator for NSS units and acted as a coordinator for faculty development program and acted as a NAC SSR committee member and acted as an academic coordinator and research seminar coordinator and internship program coordinator and anti-ragging committee chair, and he acted as a library committee member and also acted as student service committee member. So under his professional responsibilities, he acted as a resource person under UGC FDP program, UGC orientation program MHRD, and subject expert under interview panel, Korean fellowship program MHRD, and act as an editor under International Journal of Life Sciences, and act as a reviewer under Royal Society of Chemistry elsewhere and American Chemical Society journals. And under his courses are teaching thoughts. He taught a number of subjects like bioorganic chemistry, chemical biology, engineering chemistry, and environmental sciences. And his research fields of interest is homogeneous and heterogeneous catalysis, solid phase peptide chemistry, peptide nucleic acids, gene targeting using radiopharmaceuticals, imaging and therapy, nanoparticles, and dendrimers and metallodendrimers. And he, under his publications credit, he done his some 16 peer-reviewed international publications with cumulative impact factor of 57.80 with H index of 9, and he has total citations of 275, and he has conference presentations of international 20 and national 20, and he has 4 patents under his credit. So with this short CV, I will hand over to Dr. Reddy sir. Thanks for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Vidyasagar Garu, for your introduction of Dr. B.S. Balaji Garu, who is working as Associate Professor at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Sir, Dr. Balaji Garu, our participants, faculty, and all students, they are eagerly waiting for your valuable lecture about online teaching practices. Sir, please continue, sir. Over to Balaji, sir.
Thank you, Vidyasagar Garu, for a nice introduction, and thanks to Jagan Mohan Reddy Garu for making this event successful one. I was so happy to hear that close to 1,500 participants had registered for this webinar, and I also heard the VC's vision for the future. So I'll be sharing some of the best practices which we have been doing for online classes. So I'm going to start sharing the screen. So I will go to the entire screen, and then I will share it so that you can watch this one. So I hope you can watch it, right?
Yes, sir. That's clear. Sir.
Good, thank you. I will keep this at the top. And see, during the session, if someone wants to ask some questions and other things, you are free to ask that. So I will try to answer as and when we go. So we start with the effective methods of creating online lectures. So in this session, I'll be discussing more about what is the effective method, because as everybody is now being forced to adopt to online lecturing due to the COVID pandemic, we have to know what is the best practices and what is more effective, because there will be too many methods which are available, but some of them may not be applicable to us. So we will be looking at what we have to actually do in a better way so that we can teach the students very effectively. So just a few introduction about what we have been doing so far. So we released our first online course at Jawaharlal Nehru University. So the launch of online bioorganic chemistry course under JNU ELAMP, we started a couple of years back, and September 6th after our Teachers' Day. So this is our Vice Chancellor, Professor Mamidala Jagdish Kumar. So he was inaugurating our launch of our online course. So this was covered in the media also, like for the first time JNU had released our online courses. Mainly this course was for our students only. So internally the students can learn through online for our regular classroom. Then I also regularly write articles about what is online, because my main objective is to create awareness among the faculty members. Once they are aware, then only you can actually perform, because without knowing what you have to perform, you cannot actually perform. So that is the reason the initial step for creating an online lecture is not creating it, but becoming aware of what we are actually going to create. So that is how I started off my journey as writing articles in the newspaper, so that many teachers and even the normal public students can know what is the things available to them for learning. So license to learn with online courses. This is my first article came in Deccan Herald. And then I wrote an article in the Hindu about transforming experiences. Mainly here I talked about the Government of India's initiative, that is the Ministry of Human Resource Development, which is now changed to Ministry of Education with the release of the new educational policy. So what are all the things the government is actually doing? Because Indian government is one of the leading governments, so to say, is promoting online classes heavily for past many years. So the Swayam platform is one of the best example. So there we have plenty of online courses. So I wrote about an article about what is this Swayam platform and how we can actually access many of the courses. And I also wrote about mainly about the open book examination, because if you are going to create a beautiful generation for the future, they have to be an excellent thinkers. So if they have to be an excellent thinker, then it is the only people who can do that change is the teachers, because the teachers are interacting with the younger generation to the maximum extent. And if they can create a very knowledgeable younger generation, the country will prosper to the maximum. So that is the reason we have to impart the best practices for the teaching and learning process. So instead of recall or remember, we have to make our students think elaborately. So that is the reason open book examination is one such thing. And we have been practicing at the Jawaharlal Nehru University for the past several years about this open book examination. In our examination, even the students are permitted to use online resources. Internet and other things are also allowed for them to write the examination. So this creates the thinking of the students in a better way. And I have actually launched a course in the SWAYAM platform on organic chemistry. So we first launched the course in 2019. This is a MSc level course in organic chemistry. So in this course, we had around 3,600 registrations in the first offering, that is in July 2019. And in January 2020, because of the popularity in the July semester, we offered the course once again. So at that time, we had around 3,200 students or the people enrolled for this course. So in fact, our course is also very popular among faculty members, because in the first offering, we had around 250 faculty members registered for this course. Whereas in the January session, we had close to 600 faculty members who had registered for the course because of the popularity and the way in which we have integrated various innovative technologies. So we have actually integrated an augmented reality software for teaching stereochemistry, because if you are a chemist, you know, visualizing the three-dimensional representation of organic molecule is very important. So we have actually enabled the students to actually use this using their mobile phone. So this software we have actually used to show the three-dimensional structure of compounds. And we also have introduced crossword puzzles as a fun learning activity for the students. So these are all the two major innovative things we have introduced in our course for the first time. In fact, we can say in the entire SWAYAM platform, our crossword puzzle was the first one to be experimented with the students' online learning abilities. So we have also continued with our method of information dissemination. So I wrote an article on Times of India, that is in the Education Times, about during the COVID-19 break, what are all the problems we are facing, what are the problems faced by, or the limitations faced by the students, the teachers, the ICT support team of the university administrators. So all these things I have elaborately discussed in this article. And I also had written about best practices for online lectures creation during lockdown. So this had appeared in Center for Educational Communications, CEC's newsletter. I can share these articles with all of you so that you can actually go through that. So here I have discussed a lot of things. And in this session, I will also be discussing various aspects what I have actually written in many of these articles. So basically, let us start with the basic fundamental thing. What is learning? Many people used to say learning is basically acquiring knowledge. But this is maybe partly true, but not 100% true. So what is actually learning is change of behavior. So the change of behavior is the most important aspect of learning. And as a teacher, we have to make sure there is a change of behavior in the positive side through acquiring knowledge. So this is what the teaching is very, very important, because we are going to create the new generation. So they have to be equipped to face the real world challenges. Now, if I have to do the same thing, then I have a dilemma as a teacher. So what is most important? What I want to teach is more important, or what they want to learn, that is the students want to learn, which is more important? Because this is the biggest dilemma many of the people will be having. As a teacher, everyone is having this problem. So we generally do go with this form, because in the online mode, basically we have to focus mainly on the what they want to learn. So let us look why we have to do emphasis or give emphasis on this is because each learner is different. So the learners are different either socially, because they may be very open or they are close, or they may be economically rich or poor, or they may be cognitively having different level of developments, or they are psychologically strong or weak. In your class, if you maybe scold one student take it very lightly, another one take it very seriously. So we have different types of learners in our class. So even physiologically, some people are highly energetic in the class and some people are really not showing a lot of interest. We also have a different level of learning ability by the student. That is, some people are fast learners, whereas some are slow learners. So interactivity wise also, when you ask a question, some people quickly respond and some people don't even answer. So these are all the various things we will be actually encountering in our classroom. So even some people can think quickly and answer, and some people are very slow. So in your online teaching, there is no one size fits all approach. That means we have different type of people, and our teaching learning materials has to cater to the different level of learning or the different level of the learners. So this is what is the most important thing we have to actually look at. So let me go through some questions if they have. So I will put it like what is the requirement of online lectures as ABCDF. So this is the basic fundamental alphabets we know. So what is A? A means accurate. So your online lectures has to be accurate and it should be brief. See, we cannot talk too many things in the online because as we know, teachers are very good at talking a long time or talking at length on many topics. But in the online lectures, people may not have enough patience to go through that. So you have to be very brief. And you also need to be very clear in your thought process and actually how you can communicate effectively with your students. So you have to be very clear, and you also have to be descriptive, because many times the problem comes is if the student cannot, as we know, the students have different level of understanding. In the classroom setup, you can actually see their face and you can immediately respond to them very quickly. But in the online setup, you don't know actually what the students is thinking. So you have to be very descriptive in your lectures, and your lectures also has to be engaging. In other words, if it is a monologue, like you keep talking and the student just listening, they will simply turn off the computer and they will go away. So our lectures has to be engaging. And of course, if you can integrate fun into that, that will also add lots of engagement by the students. So these are all the minimum requirements, not necessarily this is the complete list. So you can try to integrate many of these things in your online lecture so it becomes more effective. And of course, we can compare what are the advantages of the online course and what is the limitations of the online course. I had given a lot of reasons here, but you can go through them very leisurely because I'll be sharing this presentation to you. So So online lectures are, it's very convenient, it is flexible, it is cost effective, and it is unrestricted. That means it is available 24/7 to the students. You can keep on updating it very quickly. And of course, student can repeat it multiple times, watch the things so that the knowledge retention is a little bit higher. And you can also use multimedia to teach some concepts because as we all know, a picture tells 1,000 words. So that means instead of explaining too many things, you just show one picture and the student gets the idea. So that is why multimedia can be integrated into the online course. So that helps very easily. And the students are also given time to learn at their own pace, anywhere, anytime. So by sitting at their home, they can also learn very effectively. So these are all some of the advantages of the online courses. And when we look at the limitations, basically, the teacher has to do the entire thing. The entire weightlifting has to be done by the teacher. So this is very high on the teacher. And of course, we cannot, if you have to create a lecture for say 2 hours, then you have to spend at least 10 hours in front of the computer creating the materials and other things. So computer screen, sitting in front of the computer is very high. So this may be harmful to the person who is actually creating. And it also requires self-discipline and strong motivation. Like, I mean, people should be motivated to learn, especially for the students. And the students needs to have the time management skill, because as we have to submit lots of assignments and other things, students has to keep track of what is the time limit available to them for completing these things. So These are some of the things the students has to have. So that is the reason we have no control over the online learning by the students. And of course, these online lectures are not applicable for each and every topic. So it is applicable for many topics, but not for every topic. And when the students are online, they can also get distracted very quickly. So these are some of the limitations of the online courses. And of course, the most important thing, of course, under the COVID-19, this is also lots of psychologists are telling, like lack of social interaction and limited avenues of learning verbal communication through personal interaction is a major challenge in the online lectures or online courses. So far people are trying to figure it out how they can actually address this one. And of course, it's very difficult to find out the level of understanding by the students. So this also is another major issue. Now let me show how you can quickly create an online course. So the first one is nothing but the idea generation. So once you create the idea, what you do next is create the presentation. So this is nothing but lights, camera, action, like a movie. You just take the things, and then finally you create reading materials or notes for the students to share. So these are all the basic 3 steps what you can follow to create your online lectures. And basically I will put them in a complete way. Like we have creation of the course. So we have both academic and technical requirement for creating this course. Once you create the course, you can actually share it with the students. So you can use either uploading or emailing, like the Google Classroom what Tirupati sir had shown. So you can actually share many of the materials to the students. This is one action you have to do. And then of course in the Google Classroom, as he mentioned, many of the things can be actually integrated. So like a monitoring, like a taking attendance or assignment submission can be done. And discussion forums, if you have created, it is best for the interaction. And evaluation can be done through quiz, crossword puzzles, and Google Forms. So these are all the various types of activities a teacher has to perform in an online setting. And if you want to create a course for the Swayam platform, so we also follow more or less the similar 5 steps, except the middle one, which is the monitoring, is not done, except then we follow this as a 4-quadrant approach. That is creation of the course, reading material, creation of the, this is the first quadrant, this is the second quadrant, the interaction is the third quadrant, and the evaluation is the fourth quadrant. Like we call this as a 4-quadrant approach. And how do you create a course? Basically, we need some technical requirements. You do need to have a computer, basically laptop or a computer, to create your lectures. And you also need to have a very good internet connectivity if you are going to teach online. The internet connectivity is a very, very important thing, because if you don't have a broadband connection, then of course the clarity of the audio and the video is not going to be good. So the students may not be impressed by your presentation. Although you are giving the best one, students may not be impressed by that. And of course, you do need a webcam if you are going to use a picture in a picture mode, or you want to show like a talking head video. So you need a webcam, and you also need a headphone for better audio quality, because the laptop or the desktop computer may have some inbuilt mic that may not have a very efficient sound. So a headphone will help you. So these are some of the technical requirements. And of course, you do need to have various softwares for recording your lecture. So these are all the various technical requirements required for you to create an excellent online lecture. And of course, you can also enroll yourself in some of the free online courses. This is the Swayam platform, where we have plenty of online courses for people to learn. Udacity, Udemy, and Coursera are some other platform. So you can actually visit some of these sites and register for some free courses, and look at how the videos are being created by different people. This will give some rough idea to you how you can actually create your own also. So I'm just listing out some of the best practices. Not that like, I mean, this is the hard and fast rule, but I generally follow these best practices. The first one is familiarize yourself with various tools and techniques, because if you are going to use, say for example, you want to write some text, and you want to share it with the students. So what is the best tool or technique that can be used? You can use a Word document, or you can also use a text notepad. But if you want to use, say for example, PowerPoint, or maybe if you want to use an Excel, those are not the right tools for creating this text documents. So you do need to know what is the best tool available for doing that particular thing. And then you do need to keep yourself updated with the latest technology, because in the online world, in the digital world, everything gets obsolete within a couple of years. So if you are not keeping yourself updated with the latest technology, then you will find it difficult. Say, for example, I will talk about few of the video creations. So there we will know why we have to keep ourselves updated. And you can also apply Jugaad, because Indians are very good at Jugaad. So you can have a stopgap arrangement for your video creations. There are plenty of videos available in the YouTube. You can find out how many people use very innovative ways of addressing how to teach online. And of course, I will always recommend you that if you are going to create a course, just work on that project every day. That means at least 10 to 15 minutes you have to work, because generally as a teacher, what we think is, okay, if I cannot do today, tomorrow I will do it. Maybe day after tomorrow I will do it, because I am already having too many administrative responsibilities and other things. But unfortunately, if you keep postponing, procrastination is one of the major problem. And that is going to hurt you a lot, because in the online lectures, you have a deadline to deliver the lectures to the students. So in other words, if you cannot deliver the lecture to the students on time, they will think like, okay, this course is not going in the right fashion. So you have to at least dedicate some 10 to 15 minutes of time for the project, because this actually helps you reduce the stress. Basically, that is the main reason I always say every day, just 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but even on Saturday or Sunday, don't take an off or other thing like that. So that way what happens is you don't have to do entire thing on a single day. And when you do entire thing on a single day, what happens is there are going to be lots of mistakes and errors, and you have no time to correct it. So that is the reason when you go slow, you can always be stressless, because I am talking this online lecture creation is a highly stressful job. And if you want to take it very lightly, the only thing is work every day. And then if you are going to record, the best option will be record it in the early morning or late night, because during those time, not lots of disturbances will be there for you to record. So you can sit at a peaceful place in your room, maybe in one room, then you can actually record it where you are not disturbed by the other people. So this is the best time for you to record. And of course, I will always recommend that if you have kids, show your presentation to your kids first, because they are honestly, brutally to the point they will tell you. And as a parent, you will never feel very bad if somebody criticizes their work and they happen to be your kids. Because if you go and show to your students, they will criticize, or maybe they are not very happy with that, then you feel very bad that I put a lot of effort, but this is not being appreciated by the students. But if you show to your children first, then they will say, Dad, I didn't like it. This color is very bad. So this is not the right way. My teacher tells in a better way. Like that, they will give lots of hints and clues, and also they will be very critical about your presentation, because they want their father to perform the best or mother to perform the best. So they are the best people to take your initial feedback. Of course, you will be asking, they don't know the subject, so how can they actually talk about this? So don't worry about the content. It is only the delivery of the content or the materials what is put. So that is the only thing they can give a suggestion to you. And in fact, why I tell this is like when I created my first video for the online lectures, it was critically reviewed by my daughter, and she completely and outrightly rejected my first presentation. So that is the reason now if I could perform very well after a couple of years is simply because of the feedback I got from my children. So they were brutally honest, and it helped me a lot to improve, because when it was done by your kids, you don't have to worry about, okay, they are criticizing you. They are actually helping you to improve. And don't ask your the better half, because the better half always tells that you are the best one. So that is not a critic, that is only the appreciation. So you get your appreciation from your better half, but get your critic from your children. And of course, if you don't get it right at the first time, don't worry, because we all learn. Because if a kid actually, when they start walking, they always fall plenty of times. If the kid thinks that, no, 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 if I fall down next time, I'm not going to walk, then they can never learn walking in their life. The same way, we will be having lots of hiccups, limitations, and there will be a lot of problems will also come in the beginning. So don't worry about all those things. And if the first time you can't do better, okay, try next time. Like I, I really appreciate Dr. Tirupati's approach, as he clearly mentioned that he never talked about non-chemistry or especially the non-science subject to the people, and he took it as a challenge, and he actually presented in an excellent way about many of the things. So this is how you have to take it. Like, I mean, there may be some little limitations, like maybe the audio may be broken, or maybe the video quality may not be clear. It doesn't matter. You have to always make a start. So that is what is called the best practice. And he did that, and hope he will do much better during the time to come. So don't worry if you don't get it right in the first time. And keep cool. That's what I say. See, there may be lots of issues which will be coming, and don't get frustrated or don't get angry or don't get, don't show any of the psychological problems. Simply take it cool and move forward. That is the only thing. I think in the movie July, if many people had watched that movie, so there is one guy who always, cool Baba, cool. So that is the word you have to keep, and that will help you a lot. Of course, what are the different components of online lectures when we look? As many people know, this contains video contents. This also contains audio, reading materials are there, evaluation is there, feedback is there, and interactivity. So these are all the major areas or the major components of online lectures. And these are all actually done by yourself as the creator or the course creator. You will be interacting with all these things, and you are the owner or the responsible person to create all these things. Apart from that, we do have some other limitations. Say, for example, the infrastructure setup at your home, you are maybe in the office. You may have a high internet connectivity in the office, whereas you may not have the same in your home. And there in the office, you will be subscribing, your university will be subscribing to lots of journals and other things which you cannot access from the home. So these are various things you have to keep in mind while creating your lectures. And of course, you need administrative support from the organization, and availability of the ICT support also helps you create better quality online lectures. Then let us go into the different types of video presentation. We have something called the talking head. So in this one, in the lecture, the person who is giving the talk is simply talking in front of the camera. So this is what is called talking head. And we have a picture-in-picture mode, like in your this current Zoom presentation, you can also have it my face shown at the bottom of the right screen, or somewhere it can be shown, and the rest of the screen is shown by the presentation what is going on. So this is what is called the picture-in-picture mode. And we can also have voice-over presentation, where we can, as there was some problem with the video, and we can actually stop the video streaming, and we can actually simply talk the voice-over presentation. So this is also another type of presentation. Or like many of the MIT open courseware lectures, people can record their classroom lectures directly. So that is also another type of video presentation. So if you go to MIT's website on open courseware, many of the lectures are recorded in the classroom. So that is one type of video presentation. And we can also have an interactive session, like say, for example, if you register for courses in Coursera or other platforms, there you can actually be asked questions while the video is being presented, and that increases the interactivity of the lectures. We can also go simply through the screen capture mode. So there are, I will discuss about few of the screen capture softwares which can be used to create your video presentation. You can also show demonstration in the lectures. And you can also do simulations, like there are, especially as the Vice Chancellor was telling about, it is quite difficult for the field work and other things when a person goes to the geology or geophysics area. In the mining, he was specifically telling people cannot go to the site and see that. So in those kind of cases, simulations can be generated through computer graphics, and the students can directly interact. And flight simulator is one of the things which is generally used in the aeronautical engineering. So these were the different types of video contents. And when we look at audio contents, we can create a podcast, or you can also do a simple recording using your mobile phone. You can also have interviews recorded and shared with the students, or you can also have panel discussions. So these are some of the ways by which you can also create your audio content and you can share with your students. And when we talk about reading materials, we have e-text and PDF notes, we have e-book, and we have tutorials, we have quiz, and we have blog or wiki. So these are various types of reading materials which can be shared with the students. So these can be shared, this will be created by the course coordinator, and he can share all these things with the students. And we also want to show any visual materials. So you can show charts, you can show pictures, you can use PowerPoints, infographics, flow diagrams, and the pie charts. So these are all the various ways by which you can actually enhance the retention by the students. If you integrate, say, instead of giving a simple table, if you put them as a chart, students can easily understand the chart much better than the simple numbers presented in the table. So these are all some visual tools which can actually help you, the students' retention. And evaluation, we have various types of evaluation, how the students are actually performing. You can analyze their critical thinking power or the problem solving abilities, or you can make them demonstrate some techniques. So these are all the various ways by which you can actually run the evaluation of students' learning. So these are all the different types of forms which you can employ to study that. Say, for example, if I want to study or know about the students' critical thinking powers, I can give a journal article and ask them, okay, you can critically evaluate what is the pros and cons of this particular paper. So that can be given, or you can ask them to write a report on a particular topic or essays. So this can help you analyze how critically they are thinking. And mathematics is one area where people use lots of problem solving. And of course, you can also make them present videos. So that will show, especially in the case of arts subjects. So the students can be asked to present their painting, or maybe their drama, or maybe their lectures. So those kind of demonstrations can be done for the evaluation for those kind of students. So these are various different ways by which you can actually conduct the evaluation. So since I will be sharing this presentation, you can actually go through this one by one. And if you are a computer science person, then you can be asked to develop a database and see how you are good at developing the course or developing the database. And these are the various assessment tools which are available online. So Google Forms, Tirupati sir had actually shown elaborately. So this can be used to create evaluations, various types of evaluations. And there are also other places. See, Kahoot is one area. Of course, if your class number is very less, you can also explore how to use Kahoot in your evaluation scheme. So that is a very, here you can actually give the time for the students to answer the question, say, or you can also make it like a play. You create two groups in your class and then ask both the group to answer your questions. So you can also have like a little fun related competitive game for the students to answer the question. So these kind of things, you can actually innovatively think and employ any of the methods for the evaluation part. And feedback is the most important one, because although we know we are teaching very effectively, but unfortunately, if it is not being received by the students, so how do we know? So the feedback is very, very essential. So it can be an informal feedback. by simply asking the students. Maybe you call the student and say, hey, how was the class? Did you understand this topic? So those kind of things we can do that. Or you can also ask a formal feedback, like which can be recorded, which can be shown for your IQAC and other things. So the NAC accreditations and other things require a formal feedback. So that also you can, get from the students after the lectures are over or the course is over. You can also have a formative or summative feedback, and student peer feedback, and student self feedback. So how did they learn? How whether the lectures were useful to them, like whether the students were actually attending all the lectures, did they watch all the videos, did they answer all the questions, like that. Students can also do a self assessment and the self feedback he can give, so that you know exactly, okay, the students had actively participated in the entire course. So these are all the various ways you can actually use that. And when we talk about interactivity, we have different types of interactivity. One is like a student teacher interactivity. So this can be done through live sessions, like how we are talking now. So you can post some questions in the chat box, so that I know what are all the questions that is being asked, then I can actually respond back. So in the live sessions, it is possible. And the responses using forum is also possible, like the student can pose a question, and then the teacher, or if you have a teaching assistant to support you, they can answer to the questions of the students. So this is how student teacher interaction is possible. And we can also have student-student interaction, where basically students, many students are reluctant to approach the teacher directly. So they are comfortable with their own peers, that is their own classmates, or maybe their seniors, to get, say for example, if a problem is given and if they don't know how to solve the problem, they can discuss among themselves, or they can even approach their seniors. Sir, please help me how we can do that. So this student-student interaction can also be encouraged in your course. So this also helps in the social and collaborative approach. So building a very beautiful social and collaborative nature for the students. So when they do the student-student interaction, they are also learning how to build a team. So the teamwork building is also taught during this particular activity. And of course, student can also interact with the content, that is the video materials you are providing, the audio materials you are providing, the PDF files and other things. So they can also interact with the materials, and they can also use the technology. Say for example, they can interact in a mobile phone, or they can also use a computer or maybe a laptop. So different types of technology can also be integrated in interacting with the materials or the contents. And finally, all these things can be done in a synchronous mode or an asynchronous mode. That means they can do it in the live section. We call that as a synchronous mode. That is, one-to-one interaction can happen, or one-to-multiple interaction can happen simultaneously. Or asynchronous mode is simply like you post the questions on your Google Classroom, and the students are given maybe a couple of days to answer the question. So those are called the asynchronous mode. So you post today and they respond by tomorrow or day after tomorrow or by the end of the deadline. So these are called the asynchronous mode of interactions. And we can also make use of technology for doing both the things. And we have major three types of content. One is the course, which is called as the macro level. So this is the entire thing we are talking about. We can also talk about a particular topic, which is at the intermediate level. Or we can also talk about the module wise, that is individual lecture wise. That is what is called the micro level. So when you are creating the content, you have to create all the three. So module, that is at the micro level, you create your contents, and the topic wise you arrange them. Basically, this is very simple. So you create from here. So each modules are created. They are then put into the topics wise, and all the topics are put under a particular course. So this is how we actually develop the contents. And the timeline required for creating is, of course, I had given too many examples here. So I'll go through the Gantt chart where we can actually see that more elaborately. So in this chart, we had given like roughly the number of days required to create your materials. So the presentation by CC is nothing but the course coordinator or the teacher. So this roughly requires 10 to 15 days. When we talk about module, actually we talk about 30 minutes of lectures. So if you are going to create a 3 or 4 30 minutes of lectures, which is equivalent to 2 hours of lecture for the students. So you need at least 10 to 15 days for creating effective things. Of course, in your normal classroom sessions, you don't take this much time for the creation of your presentations and other things. But when you are doing it in online, so it does take a little bit extra time. So you have to plan for it very carefully. And of course, when we created our MOOC Swayam courses, so there it has to undergo academic expert review also, but it may or may not be applicable to your classroom lectures because you generally create the lecture and you directly share it with the student. So this step may not be required, but this is the process we followed for the Swayam online lecture creation. And of course, video production by the course coordinators, it takes 3 to 5 days because if you employ external people for your video recording of the lectures, then we do need to have a schedule of when you are actually going to record, how you are going to record, because thought process is very, very important for recording your lectures. And after you record, it has to be processed, encoding and exporting and editing, all those things has to happen. And then finally, once the video is created, it will be shared with the teacher because the teacher has to go through that because after the video is exported, the teacher will look at, okay, did I make any mistake, or is there any pause, or did I fumble somewhere, or did I wrongly quote some information. So all those errors has to be checked at this level. And if you are not comfortable with a particular section, then you say, okay, you remove this section and this section I have to redo. Like that, you can do all the editing and other things at the last level. And then finally, if you are going to share your lectures with the students, then you actually have a write-up of the entire lectures what you have created. So this also takes some 5 to 10 days. So roughly we say, if you are going to create a 3 to 4 hour, 3 to 4 modules, that is 2 hours of lectures, it requires a month roughly. 4 weeks of time roughly is required for that. So if you have to create a 4 credit course, because 4 credit course generally requires 40 modules. So this is a standard practice we follow. So in that case, 40 module means that can be divided by 4 equal to 10. So that means 10 months are roughly required to create a very good quality MOOC course. But if you are collaborating with some other person, because this is actually for one single person. So if you are collaborating with one or more faculty members who are joining your course as course creators, then the entire workload can be shared between all the people. Say for example, this 10 month can be reduced to 5 months if just 2 people join. So if 3 people are there, then it can also be reduced to just 3 months of production. So based on the number of people, this time required can be adjusted because we will be distributing the workload of each faculty. Now, the major thing we have to know is what is the difference between learning materials and learning based students. Basically, the teacher is here and the learning based students is at the end objective. So when we say we have to give a learning outcome when you are creating a course. So how do you effectively achieve the learning outcome? So the learning outcomes are basically achieved by giving different learning materials. So as a teacher, you create different types of learning materials. So you can use any one of the path to reach the student. Basically, you can use audio presentations, or you can give video lectures, or you can also give the combination of both, or you can innovatively use any method to reach the students. Basically, whatever may be the path you are following, that means you can follow different paths, you can apply different learning materials, but the end objective is learning by student is the most important one. So make sure this is achieved no matter what path you follow. So that is the reason we never say only the audio lectures are the best one or the video lectures are the best one. No, the reading material is the best one. Like that, we don't have any specific thing to say this is the best path. You can choose your own path. The end objective is students should learn. So as long as you achieve this end objective, don't worry about which path you are going to follow. The only thing is, if you use some path, it may be a quicker time, If you follow some other path, it may take a longer time. So that is the only thing. So you have to decide how best you can actually teach and how many understood. So these are all the two factors which will actually help you analyze how the learning materials were used by the students. So if you want to improve, you can actually, there is always time to improve the materials. And the rule of thumb which I actually follow is, if a book can explain better than you, just follow the book. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, because this is where we actually miss a lot of times, because we always think I have to create something new. I have to create something new, but it is not necessary that you have to create everything new. If books can explain better, then just simply follow the book, because that is the best thing you can do. And if a book cannot explain better, then you create your own, because this is where your creativity actually comes into picture. And I always recommend focus on the concept rather than the rote learning. So because that way you can create the best future generation people. And of course, being creative helps, but not mandatory. So if you are not creative, it doesn't matter. It is still fine. So when you are creating the course, what are all the major things or major areas you have to focus or you need to pay attention to? The first one is teacher versus student. So as we mentioned earlier in the beginning, is it important that what I want to teach is more important, or what the student want to learn is more important? So this is where you have to decide very carefully between the teacher and the students when you create your materials. Because we generally, what we do is like, I know this subject, so I want to teach this subject, but unfortunately not necessarily all the time the students want to learn that particular subject. So in that case, there is going to be a problem. So I am good at something, but unfortunately that is not being requested by the end user, that is the students. So whatever we create may not be taken in the right sense by the students, and then we later on identify and find it out. Oh, I created the best course, but unfortunately student didn't like it because they didn't want it. So this is a utter waste of time, resources and other things by you. So better in the beginning itself, make sure you are creating what the student actually wants to learn. So that helps you avoid lots of surprises in the later time. And of course, the content should be to the learner, because as we mentioned, we have different types of learners. That means they have a different cognitive level, they have different learning abilities, they have different interactivity. So in that case, whatever content you are creating should address to different types of learners as well. Because you cannot say like, okay, I am good at video lectures, so I will only create video lectures. But unfortunately, there are other students who are good at visual things. So those people may not find very important, because some people may be just listening, or some people are good at reading. So that reading person and the listening person may not be comfortable with watching just a video alone. So in those kind of cases, you have to look at what are the end users, that is the learning styles of the students, and based on that, you have to actually create your content. And then of course, what is more important, whether you want to go through the learning mode or the learner, because this is again similar to the content here. So we can apply different learning modalities to teach the learners. And whether you want to focus on remember or recall, because as in the schools, basically people prefer to go through the remember, whereas in the higher education and other things, we have to be very careful about whether we want to simply go with the remember and recall, or we want to go through the concept based one. We can also use different learning strategies and interaction pattern. And the major problem what we are having in India is the cultural impact. Because as you know, if you look at many rural parts of the country, they may not have internet connectivity, and the language that is being spoken at different parts of the country is quite different. So if you are creating a course in a particular language, this need not be taken well by the students in rural parts of the country. So we do need to pay a lot of attention to the cultural impact. And if you look at the latest national education policy, they have also introduced the 3-language approach, where the students are permitted to learn in the language in which they are more comfortable. So another way to address this cultural impact is you can actually create your course in any language. Say, for example, we created a course in English, but you can actually do a transliteration of that course to various other local languages. So if you transliteration your course by, maybe you can use the Google Translate to translate your audio descriptions into a textual format. And if you can correct the, because scientific terminologies are always taken wrongly by the online translation tools. So you correct those and send it to the students in their own language. Then actually you can address this cultural impact or the different learning barriers due to languages can be easily addressed. So when you are creating, you can also think about that. Okay, in future, if I want to give this to different language people, so what do I need to do? Should I simply use only the English or Hindi or maybe Telugu or maybe Kannada or which language? So don't focus for a single particular language. Make it for all the language and do the translation at a later stage so that you can reach major students from the country. And there are certain items which can make your life easier. So if you have a script, because when we are talking in a lecture, basically there are 2 major approaches which can be followed. One is reading from the script or extempore presentation. But some people prefer the extempore presentation. That means you come in front of the camera and start talking. But in those kind of cases, what is the problem you will have is you are going to always have time limitation is going to be a major problem, because you will speak very quickly when you speak extempore mode. So you cannot go slow, and you cannot also be very clear in what you actually want to talk, because you cannot think and speak. You have to just, extempore means you have to just keep speaking. So in that process, you may actually miss out a couple of important points about that particular thing. So it is always better, you can create a script. And the best example is, if you look at the news channel reporters, they all use the script only. They just don't recall from their mind, and then they just don't read just like that. They actually use a written script, and they use the teleprompter for delivering their news articles. So that is the reason you see, like, it is much more accurate and it is brief, because the brief, as we mentioned earlier, and the clarity, so these two can be improved by using a written script. So at that time you exactly know how much time it will take for you to read it out exactly. So that way you can, when you are using screen recordings, you can actually use script, because when you are using screen recording, student does not know whether you are reading from the script or not. So that is one way you can actually use it. And you can also use storyboards if you are going to employ an external agency for creating your lectures, that is the video production agency. So at that time, creating storyboard actually helps, because at the 2nd minute, I want this animation to come. In the 4th minute, I want this picture to come. Like that, you can write in the storyboard so that they know, because generally when we use external people to create our video lectures, they are not the expert in your area or in your field. So they may not follow what you are speaking or what you are telling. So to make them understand, we have to actually create a storyboard, because these are all will help you a lot in the later part. And of course, when we talk about lecture time, the best time is like somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes. If you give a lecture for maybe 2 hours or 3 hours, you are capable of doing, but unfortunately the students are not capable of receiving. So in that case, whatever effort you are putting will simply go in vain. So always keep your lecture time to the minimal, because there are lots of research had been done on this particular thing. And the maximum attention span by the students are basically between 6 and 8 minutes. But don't go too small with the 6 or 8 minute lectures, because you cannot explain any single concept in that. It is going to be very difficult. So 15 to 20 minutes is an ideal time for you to plan for, and you can break the lectures. Maybe a 1 hour lecture can be broken down into 3 or 4 sessions, so that students also don't take it very heavily in one lot, and you are also comfortable speaking for 10 minutes, giving a small break, and then again recording for 10 or 15 minutes. So you are also less stressful. And again, if possible, try to include images and pictures in your presentation, so that it conveys lots of information in a single picture. That way, you don't need to explain too many things for too long. So this actually helps you make your life much easier. And of course, when we talk about content, as our VC sir had already mentioned, there are plenty of open educational resources available, which were developed by the Ministry of Human Resource Development. So we can actually make use, say for example, EPG Parsala is one area, Swayam MOOC courses is another area, and the NIT Kharagpur had actually have a digital library. So there are plenty of open educational resources available, so which you can actually use in your classroom lectures, or maybe in your video lectures. You can give a link to the students, okay, go and watch this video, or maybe go and visit this website, what they have discussed, you just read. So these are all actually created by an expert. So when it is created by an expert, this actually reduces your time or actually repeating the same thing. So simply you can copy those information and share it with your students. So that actually helps you a lot. And of course, planning is very, very essential, because if you don't plan, what happens is like your time required to create any lecture increases drastically. Because after the lecture is going on, maybe in the 3rd minute, you realize that you actually missed one particular slide to insert. So at that time, you cannot sit and create that slide and include in your presentation. So planning is very, very essential. Unless you plan, you don't venture into creating any of these things. And of course, just planning alone is not sufficient. You also need to practice. So if I am going to give a lecture online, what I generally do is I create the presentation and I will just go through that once to see what I have to speak when. So if I do these kind of things a couple of times, then actually it also gives me confidence to speak, first of all. Second, I get the clarity on what I want to speak. And of course, I know which place I have to mention what. Otherwise, what will happen is I created the presentation 10 days or 15 days back. Today, I have to speak in front of the camera with this presentation. So in between, what will happen is you will see some slide for which you actually forgot what you want to tell. So at that time, it will be like, I don't know what to do. Like that, you start thinking, then your flow is completely broken. So that is the reason we always say you simply planning alone is not sufficient. You also practice, so that it helps you, like you can deliver it in a much more efficient way, because the students actually want a flow that is very, very neat and clean and clear. If you start fumbling in between, the students will simply say, oh, the teacher doesn't know anything. Okay, I cannot learn anything from him. They will just, with one simple mistake, they will simply degrade you to the maximum level. So that is not the right thing. And of course, keep cool. That is also very important. When we compare the live streaming or the recorded lecture, because if you are going to present, do you want to go through the live stream mode or through the recorded lecture? So these are all the two major areas. I'll not go through this very elaborately, because both have their benefits and the limitations. So live stream is actually good, because you can actually it requires basically the time preparation, the time required for the preparation is not very high. So that means in 10 minutes or half an hour, you can just do the live stream. So you don't have to prepare a lot and you don't have to spend a lot of time. Whereas in the recorded lectures, you have to spend a lot of time in the preparation. But the advantage is you can correct your mistakes when you record your lectures, whereas in the live stream, you cannot correct your mistakes. So this is a major problem. And running a live stream, of course, you do need to have some technical expertise. Say, for example, what is the internet connection you need, and how do you share your screen, and if the students are joining late, so how you allow them to the class, and how do you conduct your quizzes and other things. So it requires some amount of technical expertise. And of course, it is not self-paced, and you cannot stop it in between. You cannot rewatch it. And of course, some software allow or permit you to download, but not all the softwares allow you to permit. And the major problem is like you need to have a very good internet connectivity for running this live session. And the major advantage we can say is you can be interactive. Like I can ask questions or you can ask questions, I can answer it very quickly. So interactivity can be very good in these kind of live streams. Whereas in the recorded lectures, it is always passive. And it is basically one-time activity. That is, you have to upload it and let the student download. That's it. Only during this time you need the internet connection. The rest of the things you can actually prepare everything in your computer. And student can learn it through their self-paced. Like, I mean, if some students want to watch it again and again, they can do rewind, rewatch, and pause. All the things are possible in the recorded lectures. And you don't need a lot of a technical knowledge, because if you are being supported by the team will exactly tell you, sir, you just present your lecture, we will record it, and we will do the rest of the things. All the things can be taken by the team. So here you don't need to have a lot of technical knowledge. And for the design and development of the lectures, you are already familiar with, so I may not go into detail. So you can use a PowerPoint presentation or a keynote. You can also use a demonstration of models, either physical or virtual. You can introduce interactive components like discussions, interviews, learning by doing. Because in the demonstration, what we generally do, like as Tirupati sir was telling, okay, you register in my class, and okay, I will send the lectures, you just watch it. So like that, you can actually make it more interactive in your regular sessions also. And of course, there are some screen capture softwares are available which can record the entire thing, what is going on here. And the dilemma for the teacher is basically, should I make or create my contents? The reason why I'm putting this particular slide is like, I mean, these are the major challenges or the dilemma we will be facing while we are creating our courses. So the first question is, do I have time? Do I have enough time? Because for creating a 30-minute lecture, say I require 3 or 4 hours. Do I have 3 to 4 hours to make this 10 or 15-minute lectures? So time is a major constraint. And of course, resources. Maybe academic resources, in a sense, like if you need a particular journal article for your presentation, is it available to you? Is your university or the organization subscribed to those journals? So academically, whether the resources are available, or technically there is a support for you to create these things, is it available? Or maybe from your family and the official support to create the courses, is it available? So these are all the major problems when you are asked to create your own contents. So again, okay, you are now asked to create the contents. Now you have to think, whether should I create it at my office or at my home? So this is another major problem, because in the office you may have a very good internet connection, but in your home you may not have it. So then every time can you go to your office to create these things? Say for example, you think like, I mean, Saturday, Sundays are free, so on that day I can elaborately create many things, but Saturday, Sundays your office is closed. So in that case, how do we do it? So these are all again some of the dilemmas you will be having. And of course, when you have these kind of problems, you next think, should I have to create my own contents? Can I outsource it? Of course, if you have a PhD scholar, generally many of the people actually take help from the PhD scholars in collecting the materials. Of course, you will be creating your course, but collecting the materials, basically the initial scrutiny and other things can be done by your PhD scholar. So if you have one, you can actually outsource some of your work to your student. Or maybe if some of your friends are good at some particular areas, you can actually ask them, hey, do you have the material for this one? Either they can share the website address, because otherwise you have to search and find out all those things. So in those kind of cases, you can actually outsource some of your search options to other people. Or you can also ask some freelancer, because I'm not good at preparing my presentation. So do I get somebody to help me out? So you can also look at some freelancers who can actually do it at a cheaper price compared to some professionals. And you can also approach some edtech company to create your course if your university or the organization supports. So you can also outsource your content creation to the edtech company. So these are all the different dilemma you may be having. And of course, when we talk about using the material from other sources, as I mentioned, open educational resources and copyrights and Creative Commons are some of the things which can be actually used for the outside materials which can be used in your course. So these are all the dilemma you will be having. That's what I say. These are all the dilemma you will be having from your side. But from my side, what is the dilemma? I will say, should I have to even answer any of the questions? So that is what my dilemma, because every questions that is being put here has different pros and cons. So you are the best judge, the individual judge, because something which is applicable to you may not be applicable to the other person. So we cannot simply say this is the best option. Whatever works for you, that is the best option for you. So take that option and move forward. So that is the reason we don't have a standard thing for everybody to follow. Everybody has to do their own things. And simply when I talk about the basics of video creation, I'll just go through some of the things. We have different formats for video creation. We have a standard definition, we have a high definition, we have a true high definition, we have a 4K. So these are all the different video formats or the screen display resolutions or the aspect ratio available. So when you are creating your course, you can actually fit your creation of your course content to any one of the format. So there are different video file types are there. So when you are creating your lectures, you can use any one of the format. AVI format requires lots of file size. Windows Media Video is for the Windows computers, and FLV and SWF are mainly for the Adobe's thing like FlashWave and Shockwave, and the WebM is mainly for putting your lectures and contents on the mobile phones focused one, and 3GB is mainly for the mobile phones. MPEG, MOV, and MP4 are different file formats which can play on computers, and the DivX formats can be played by some computers or some video players. And these are all the various specifications for high quality video. We generally use .h264 or .h264 video formats, or AV1 is also another video specification file format which we can use for creating your videos. DV is another format. So these are different types of formats which you can create your video outputs. And why we do need to know, because the video quality versus bitrate and the file size is very, very crucial for presentation. Because if you create a very good high quality video, sometimes the file size is going to be huge. Because if you go with the AVI file format, it is a lossless format, but it requires a very huge file size. So you cannot upload maybe 1 GB of the file and student cannot download it. So you have to always have a compromise between what is the video quality you want to create and what is the file size you can share with the students. So knowing some basic terminologies actually helps you do your job in a better way. And what are the different tools for the creations? Here there is a mic which is available. So this is a Boya BY M1 omnidirectional microphone. So this actually helps you improve your audio quality when you are creating your lectures. Because in this one, I'm actually using a headphone having a mic. So this also is kept close to myself. So that's the reason the audio clarity in this lecture is very good. Otherwise, if you are using a laptop, it will actually capture noises very low. That means too many outside noises also will be captured. So you have to use a better quality mic. And you can also use external webcam for recording your lectures. So these are some of the investments if you can actually do. That helps giving a better quality audio video content compared to using your simple laptop option only. If you have a very good laptop with a very high quality mic and the webcam, of course you don't need to buy the external things. But if you are using a very old system where you don't have an option, then this is a USB supported camera. So you can connect this camera to your computer's USB port and you can actually record your lectures directly. So these are some of the tools which can actually help you in creating a better quality contents. And of course, we talk about softwares. Microsoft Office or Office for Mac are some of the softwares which can be used to create your presentations. And some screen recording softwares can be used. Either they can be standalone or a web-based one. Because if you look at Screencast-O-Matic, Loom, Zoom, many of these things, these are basically web-based one. And Camtasia and other recording softwares are basically a standalone one. So here I'll tell you some of the tools. All these tools are basically used for cutting. So if I ask which is the best tool for cutting, then you cannot actually answer that question immediately. Rather, you should not answer the question because each tool, cutting tool, is used for different purposes. The blade is used to cut certain things, whereas this saw and other things are used for cutting different things. So for example, if you want to cut a tree, so which is the tool you will be actually using? So you cannot use the blade for cutting a tree because you can never successfully complete it. So that is the reason. What is the task at hand, you do need to know. Based on that, you have to actually use the tool. Otherwise, what will happen is, if you are using the wrong tool for creation of something, then you can never achieve that end result. So that is the reason. Always look at what is your end objective. Based on that, you have to use the tool. The same way, this axa blade or this saw cannot be used to cut a small straw because this is a very small one. So in this particular case, you have to actually use a blade to cut this one to the size. So that is the reason, depending on what is the tool and what is your end objective, they both have to match together. Of course, as a teacher, you are already familiar, so I will not talk about how to create a presentation. So these are some of the steps you can actually use. And basically, these are various steps. You identify the topic, then do a simple research about the topic and generate the idea, then list them or note down the points, then arrange them sequentially, create a rough outline and compile the data, image, table, figures, and identify the tools and software to do the specific job. So this is what is the most important thing. If you want to use a chart in your picture, so better you use an Excel and find out the chart from that Excel. Don't use the PowerPoint for that because don't try to write the chart with your hand and other things. So these are some of the things you do need to know. And after everything is done, you just review that presentation to see whether it is okay or not. And I'll just show a few demonstration of copying of an image. You can use a print screen mode. That means you simply press the print screen in your computer keyboard and it captures the entire screen. So you can use that image directly in your presentation. Or you can also use the snipping tools if you use Windows 8 or 10. So when you type here at the bottom for the snipping, so the snipping tool actually comes up. So this is the best match comes up in that. So once you click on this snipping tool, this actually gives this program opens up. So you can go to the new snipping and you can use a free-form snip or a rectangular snip or window snip or full screen snip. So you can actually copy that, whatever you are copying or snipping that entire thing. So you can make use of this one for say, for example, I put these two images using this particular tool only. So I actually took the print screen of that, then the entire screen will come. But in this particular case, I used the snipping tool so that only the part of this entire screen is taken. So here it is only the software's thing is given here. So that way you can actually use the snipping tool for very specific application. And if you want to copy image, you can also use snip and sketch, another option available in the Windows 10. So here we have various tools are available and you have various things which can be done. So the first one is like when you click on the new, you are going to create a new snip, and then you can actually open a file. You have a different size of pen, pencil, and highlighters. You can use any one of them. You can change their size. So when you want to write something on the screen, you can actually use this software, and you can write everything whatever you want. So this helps you do the things in a much better way. And for the screencasting, you can actually use the PowerPoint's inbuilt option, because in PowerPoint 2016 and the later versions, and even many of the earlier versions, PowerPoint can be used directly to record your lectures. That is the screen capture, so that you can use. Or you can use an online facility called the Screencast-O-Matic or Active Presenter or Camtasia, Adobe Captivate, QuickTime. These are all the various softwares which you can use for your creations. And this website, actually, the TechSmith is where you can actually look at the Camtasia is available from this particular producer. And screen recorder, you have a Screencast-O-Matic. This is another software which can be used. So here what I did was I simply copied the entire screenshot of that particular screen, and I simply pasted it here, so that when you open the website, this is the one you will be actually looking at. So this helps you tell the people directly rather than simply giving the web address. If you give the picture of that website directly, people can directly see that. So this helps you in showing to the people directly. I will just show some of the examples what I have created. Like if you don't have any of the things for creating your lectures, simply write on a piece of paper. Okay, this is the most simplest and the easiest one. Take a picture using your mobile phone and simply use this in your presentation. So you don't have to use any sophisticated software or tools or anything. You can be as simple as that. So this is what we say the Jugaad method. So in this Jugaad method, what we do is you simply write something on the piece of paper, whatever you want to explain to the students, and simply take a picture of that, and you include this as a picture in your presentation. Now I can talk about this particular reaction entirely. So what is the stability of the radical? When I want to say, I can actually use the pointer and I can exactly explain this. So to make this one, it doesn't require much time, and this can be the most efficient way if you don't have any tools or techniques available with you. So don't worry about if you don't have the advanced tools and techniques. With the simple paper and the pen also, you can actually do that. And this is another example which I want to show about. This is a two-dimensional structure of radical stability. So this I want to explain to the students. In this picture, I only could write the two-dimensional image. This is actually not a planar one. So when I have to explain this to the students, I tell this is not planar and other thing. Actually, people cannot visualize this. So here we do need to take help from the software. So in this particular case, if I say this is not a planar one, then this can be on the plane. This is out of plane. This again is out of plane. So the student can actually see that very clearly. So rather than using a simple 2D pictures to tell the story, you can actually use the actual three-dimensional picture, because in chemistry and other subjects, you can actually make use of some of the softwares to create these kind of images. So make use of this one so that the student learns in a much better way. Another thing is using pictures to explain the concept. Say this is an inductive effect which I want to teach to the students. So here I say the acidity of this proton is the one I'm actually going to talk about. So there is no substitution here. So the acidity is 4.8. When I have a chlorine in the alpha position, that is the position number 1, the acidity increases, because if the number decreases means acidity increases. So this is going to be highly acidic. In other words, this proton can be easily removed. So how do I tell this to the students? So there is something called the Electrostatic Potential Map. So in this picture, I can show here exactly the blue color is for the proton here. So this is electron deficient area. The red color is the electron rich area. So here we say this is a very small size. It is shown. That means the electron deficiency is little less. Whereas if you look at here, the electron deficiency is more because there is more blue color here. So in other words, we can say this proton can be easily removed. So when you explain this particular inductive effect using these kind of images, that actually helps the students understand the concept in a much better way. So this is what I reiterate. You identify what is the tools and the techniques which you can actually use in your regular or online classroom lectures so that the student gets the entire or the holistic picture of the things. And there is another thing which I generally use for explaining the HSAB, that is the hard and soft acid and base rule. Here we have too many things written, and for the student to understand it is quite difficult. So what we generally do, I generally do is like, I use two images. So here hard means it is a small size. So this is the major thing you have to know. So pearl is a very small size, but it is very hard. And when I talk about the soft one, this is having a large size. So I show a balloon. So balloon is very big. So based on this, I can actually explain the hard and soft acid and base principle to my students in a very, very easy way. Because when it is hard, in other words, it is very difficult to oxidize. So we can easily say whether it is a hard acid or base, it is not easily polarizable and it is also not easily oxidized. So these two things can be easily explained if I just have an analogy based explanation. So this also you can actually integrate in your classroom. And of course, this is one preparation I want to explain. So for example, synthesis of alcohol, I want to say. We holistically put the things in a way like we can prepare from carbonyl compound or from other than carbonyl compound. So in this case, when we talk about reduction reaction, so I put corresponding reaction simultaneously in the same slide so that students know exactly like what I am talking, because here we have a ketone, we have an aldehyde, we have carboxylic acid. So all the three are written here. And when we use a different reducing agent, they are reduced to produce the alcohol. So while I'm explaining, I can actually use the reactions also simultaneously in the same slide so that student can follow very easily. And when I talk about the next one, I can actually use, see, these are animations which can be easily created using the PowerPoint. So this will help you explain the concept in a much better way. Rather than simply talking about a single topic or something, you can actually integrate animations and the slow process by which how you can actually explain the things so that student gets, say for example, here the change of carbon atom number. So I have written Grignard reaction. So here this is a Grignard reaction. Formaldehyde is here. This is a primary. Then any aldehyde other than formaldehyde is secondary. So all those things can be explained very easily to the students. And then when we have to go for the other things, I can explain all the things in a single slide. So in this particular slide, I can cover the entire synthesis of alcohols. So this way students can easily follow what you actually want to say. And of course, after you complete this, then you can actually show something called the mind map. So this mind map is one way to explain many things which are interrelated. One way of doing that is directly putting this mind map directly to the students. So this is overwhelming for the student to follow. So better when you are creating the mind map, don't put it in a single slide entirely. So how you can better present the same thing is, so start from the center and talk about one particular thing. So now I talk about RNA and DNA. So purines and pyrimidines are present in heterocyclic chemistry. So what are vitamins? So they are present here. And then what are pharmaceuticals? So many heterocyclic compounds are pharmaceuticals. So what are they? Some examples are given here. And then what are hormones? So these are all the different hormones belonging to heterocyclic chemistry. And then about amino acids I can talk. And then about the pigments. Chlorophyll and hemoglobin are the two things. And then I talk about the weed killer. So if you go step by step, one by one approach for this mind map, that also helps the students retain a lot of information. And this is how I generally create my videos. So with this, you actually can go through this. So first I identify the topic and identify who are the audience. Then I research about the topic and jot down the points. Then I look for analogy if applicable. Then I identify some of the images. Then use icons, change colors. And once a presentation is ready, I use Camtasia to record my lectures. And then I edit the video, export and send to the academic expert for review. Then finally incorporate corrections and upload to the place wherever I have to upload. So this is how we generally follow. With that, you can follow some of these methods to effectively create lectures for your online presentations. So with that, I conclude my session.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir. Thank you for your presentation, sir. There are some questions in the questions and answers box.
Yeah. You can
go through it, sir.
Yeah.
Someone is asking, and in chat box also questions are there.
Okay. So what are some of the questions?
Are you able to see that? My read?
Okay. I will go
from the down. Which is the best practical oriented learning tool, sir? RVS Narayana is asking.
Okay. In the chat box or in the question answer, which one you are actually?
Question and answer, sir.
Question answer.
Question and answer.
Where and how we get the certificate? If you want to record in TV, which software can help? So you cannot directly record in TV because recording on TV is not possible because TV is not a computer. There is no central processing unit to take commands. You only have a remote control to control the TV. Okay. There are some smart TVs available. Maybe that is only for Chromecasting is one thing, or casting, screen casting is a thing they will be telling. Like you can actually mirror your computer screen or mobile screen on the TV. So that is what is called the screen casting. So there are softwares, Apple TV and Chromecast or some other things. For that, you do need some dongle or some extra equipments are required. Once you purchase those subscriptions, yes, you can actually mirror your screen on the TV. So for that, everything has to be in the same wireless network. So these are some of the things, and I do use actually, I have an iPad, and iPad, if I want to watch in the TV, my laptop, because iPad is from Apple and my laptop is Windows one. So they generally directly don't talk to each other. So in that case, I do download some softwares which help me mirror the image from my iPod screen to the computer. So those kind of things are also available, which you can actually use. And practical oriented learning tool. So practical oriented means which subject you actually want. That is what you have to specifically tell, because there is a website which I have actually given. There you can actually identify lots of interactive tools available. So you can go through the description of each software and find out which is actually good. Say for example, my presentation, I have used some animation things to show how I can actually present it. Maybe for your subject, you can choose which is working better for you. And of course, it is always better use some little sort of inbuilt animations from the PowerPoint, because fade option is one thing, appear is another option. Then there are also end animations are available, exit animations are available, emphasis animations are available. So you just explore one by one, so that when you are presenting, the students are also not overwhelmed. Say for example, if you put 15 points in one single slide and you just put it in front of the student directly, they will be really surprised and they cannot take all the 15 things. So what you do, go one by one. First to talk about the first point, then there is also animation to reduce the color of that particular thing, so that I can show in one of my presentation thing. I have actually had shown here. So there what we generally do is like, so this thing, evaluation. So these are all in the bold one. I hope you can see. This is a dark black one. And in the next slide, this went to a very light color, so that I don't want to give any emphasis on this one. Yeah.
Please share again.
Okay. So this is the first slide where I talk about evaluation. Okay.
Share screen. Click share screen.
Oh, sorry. Is it not sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not sharing, sir. Please
Oh,
share it.
sorry. Okay. Can you see now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
Oh,
sir.
sorry.
Okay, sir.
Okay, in this one, I use an animation basically. So here what we do is we first create our first slide. So you can go here in the animation, you can actually introduce any animation you want. So this is the entrance animation. And when you click on that, you have an emphasis and you have an exit animation. So in some pictures, I use the exit animation. And in the previous one, I actually used the this one. If I click on the one, this is the fade animation I have used, so that it will come one by one by one. So here I say like this one, it is a dark one. When I want to go to the next one, I don't want to give emphasis on this one. So what I do, I change the color. So if I go to the home, and if you look here, in this particular case, I have changed the color to the light one with the 15%. Okay. So in that case, it is still there, but the emphasis is given to only the dark one here. So this way, you can actually be more better way to explain the things to the people. So this is what I say. If you want to use any of these things, PowerPoint has lots of options. So the emphasis can be given to what you actually want to tell. So that way it helps the student also, rather than putting everything together in one slide, go one by one so that they can easily follow. Did I answer your question, or it was not the one you were actually asking for?
Jagan Mohan Reddy, kindly unmute.
Oh. There is
There is one more question. Of all the choices open to a person, he will choose that option whose worst possible outcome is superior to worst possible outcome of all other options open to him. Yeah, that is true. That is what we say. You have to take a call on which option works better for you, because the one which works better for me need not have to work better for you. So these are all the options available to you. So you can choose which one is better for you.
So there is another question, sir, in the chat box.
Okay, what is the question? Because I am unable to see that.
I will say.
Okay.
Wait, sir. That.
Sir, meanwhile, Balaji sir.
Yeah, tell me, ma'am.
What is the implication of what you say in the light of plagiarism, then copyrights? If I'm taking a slide from the some internet platform,
Okay.
so and this is going to go public after the recording is over, or it is live streamed also. So
Yeah.
what implications do we have regarding that?
Actually, I had actually given a lecture. I'm going to give a lecture on this particular aspect for maybe 1.5 hours. There is an entire talk about this particular aspect. So I can share that link with you, so you can also register and watch that. But I will briefly tell you. See, this is a major questions that is being asked by everybody. And this is a very, very valid question. And especially for the online contents. So far, many of the things are in the gray area. In other words, people had not said very clearly. Digital Millennium Copyright Act, or DMCA Act, is available in the United States. where they talk about lots of things, but except this particular thing, like, I mean, this copyright issue is always talked in a very, although it is a Digital Copyright Millennium Act, many things are very vaguely represented. And of course, in India, we have a different system. So for your classroom teaching, you are permitted to use, that is academic and research and educational purpose. We are free to use pictures, images, notes, graphs, everything from any of the book for our classroom teaching. There is a famous case, I don't know whether you heard about that or not. The copyright issue case filed by Oxford University Press and other 5 publishers against some Rajeshwari Xerox company, which is situated in Delhi University Economics Department. So in that case, the High Court had ruled that for academic purpose and for research purpose, it is perfectly fine to copy materials and share with the students. This is a limited thing because the students are very limited. So whereas in the case of online things, we don't have any rule or regulation per se so far. And the Creative Commons licenses actually permit you to use many of the open educational resources. But unfortunately, the teacher is having a big dilemma. If I copy paste from somewhere else, my students will see and they tell that the teacher did not put enough effort to create this class for me. So that is one dilemma the teacher will be having. Second, the copyright issue, as you are asking, like unless somebody sees this video and asks you, nobody is going to know that, okay, you did a mistake or other things. So in that case, it is always better to avoid these kind of copyrighted images and other things in your lecture, because there are plenty of open educational resources are available, and the Creative Commons 6 licenses are available. If you go through the license, there are a couple of licenses which help you or which allow you to use those material. So you use only those material in your classroom. But even though we talk about the open courseware materials available at MIT, they have actually removed a couple of images and pictures from their lectures. Those lectures were shown in the classroom, but when it was hosted online, those images and pictures were removed because the copyright owner prevented them from using that in the online mode. So it is always recommended for online lectures, if possible, get a copyright permission. If the publisher gives you the copyright permission, go ahead and use it. If they don't give you, then better don't use that.
Thank you.
Very good, sir. Very good answer given by you, sir. The copyright need and copyright act. Very
I
good.
can give the link, and if anybody is really interested in knowing that, I have actually talked about 1.5 hours because this is good. I have already recorded and given them the lecture, so
Right.
they will be putting it maybe live or other things. So you can actually go through that. There I discussed elaborately about what are the different resources available to the teacher, as well as what are the limitations and what are the dilemma they have and how they can actually overcome. Because for my online course, I have actually taken permission from 3 publishers. I wrote to them and I specifically asked them permission to use their images, pictures, and other things. And all the 3 publishers actually permitted me. So that is the reason, like, I mean, we have to take a little bit extra effort or work, but it is really worth doing that. So that now I am free because nobody is going to question you that why did you use this image from this book? Because the publisher had actually given me permission, so I am free to use it. I don't have to recreate it. See, this is one of the major advantage, because some complicated structures, I have no means of creating it. So better get the copyright permission and use it.
Good, sir. Good ethical question raised by our principal and answered by you. Very good question, sir. Sir, there is another question from Satyajit Raj. Uh, Good afternoon, sir. How to use ChemDraw pictures in PowerPoint presentation? He's asking.
ChemDraw, you can do as I mentioned. See, if you are unable to copy and paste it, basically ChemDraw permits you to copy and paste it directly. So I generally create my pictures in the ChemDraw softwares, and I generally post it directly on the PowerPoint or Word or other things. So in that case, it is permitting you to do that. So you don't have to worry about or do anything about that. It is actually allowed. And if
But
you are
there is
unable to do that, now the
Yes,
next
yes.
question is, if you are unable to do that, take a
Sure.
screenshot and simply paste it in your PowerPoint as an image. In that case, you cannot edit it. Now, let me show some of the pictures which I can actually created and which I can actually use it for editing, because this actually helps you with, actually I'm creating, say for,
Sir, for this, permission is not required.
which permission?
Say, for example, what for some PowerPoint presentation
Uh-huh.
is there. So suppose if you are doing some, showing some mechanism or structures, whatever you are saying, that image, so
Okay.
then again we have to go, we have to take the permission for that also. No, not
Basically, see, for academics, they have actually given the permission. So when you are doing it for the academics, I mean, they are not preventing you from using that images. And of course, the license for the software is the one you are actually having it. Because don't use the pirated version, because I generally don't recommend using pirated version. So see, this is the image, okay? This image is actually created in this ChemDraw like software. So when I click on this, you see the, can you see the image? I
Yes.
mean, okay. So it is starting up the program. So if I paste it like an image, because the right hand one is actually pasted like an image directly, this is embedded image from that particular software. So we can actually copy, create the image in that structural drawing software. So now the software had opened up, and now I have this image here. So if I paste it like an image, I have no way of correcting or editing this one. Say, for example, I want to remove this particular structure later. So I click on this one and delete this one. So this image is now deleted, and this also is deleted. Now, if I go click transfer, I'll show here. So this is the original image where the benzoyl unit is present. And now when I transfer this, okay, this image is now gone. So this facility is available if you simply embed, that is the copy from the software and paste on the PowerPoint, because many of these softwares can be pasted directly on both Word and PowerPoint. And this gives you an additional leverage later on, because if you make some errors, you can actually correct that image. But this is pasted as an image. So if I have to, now here we don't have the benzamide unit, but here we have that unit. So this is not removed in this picture. Although this is a three-dimensional one, I cannot rotate it because this is pasted like a picture. So this is what you have to do when you are creating your lectures. Embedding helps you. Pasting it as a picture, you cannot edit it later on. But both can be done. If you are unable to embed the picture, then use it directly, whatever is the image, you can use it directly.
Yes, sir. Good explanation. Embedding and how can you use the software, especially in whatever drawing the chemistry also. And there is another question, sir, that
Yeah.
is asking some high speed. Wait, sir. They're asking some internet speed.
Hello.
It is there
Can
in
I
the chat.
pose this question? It is
Yes.
there in the question answers box.
Yeah, what is the
Somebody
question?
has mentioned how to teach the subjects which are problematic. Maybe this is like mathematics subject or something
Okay.
via online.
Okay, see, there are a couple of things you can actually do it. One is like, as I mentioned, like you can directly in this one, if I go to the last one, you can just write with your hand whatever steps you want to. I think if you look at, there is one famous person from Andhra only. Her name is Komali Madam. So Komali Ma'am's YouTube video channel you can actually look at, and she had like lakhs of students registered for her lectures, and she is one of the best chemistry I can recommend for anyone to watch it. So she uses very simple setup. So there she explains many things about how to solve the problem. So that is what she actually is doing for many years. So this is the one, as I was mentioning you. You just write in a piece of paper, that is enough. So mathematical equation, because this is basically chemistry is nothing but mathematics, because whatever I have written is an equation here. Let us say this is an equation. So in maths also you follow the same thing, use the same equation. So here, if you don't want to show this in the beginning, so what I generally do is I just create a box. There are two ways I can create a box. So here one is like this tool. I just highlight this part, and now this is highlighted. So I go to the shape fill. I put the white color. I remove the outline. So this is the box now here. So you can see the white color is little bit different because this is white and the outside is little bit less color. So I have to actually have the same color. So I go to the eyedropper and click on this color. Now, since this is actually not exactly the same, you can see there is a white patch or something is there. Don't worry, many times students may not pay that much attention to that. So this I can use a animation, like an exit animation. So I use fade animation. Now I have done that. So I go to the presentation mode. Now this is not seen now. So I explain to the students all these things, and now I click on that. So this appears. So that way you can actually use these kind of exit animations for the entire thing you can actually create, and that helps you tell step by step. You don't have to write each step in front of the camera, because when you are writing in front of the camera, it actually takes a lot of time. So that is the reason we prefer creating the presentations first and then explain that, so that what you have is you can do it very effectively in less time. Otherwise, your entire lecture will take 2 hours, which you can actually effectively do it in 30 minutes. Because if you start writing this entire page, if I have to write, obviously it will take, say, for example, 5 minutes for me, because I have to write one by one. And while explaining, if I start writing, because Khan Academy videos, if you look at, they are all done through that way only, but there it takes lots of time. And if the students are having enough time, okay, go ahead and follow that Khan Academy style. But in my case, I always prefer less is better. So it has to be crisp, it has to be clear, and it has to be quick. So create the lecture and put these kind of patches, or like, whatever thing you want to hide, and give a exit animation. And then you start your lecture. Once you click enter, enter, so everything will come up one by one by one by one. So this is what I have actually done in this particular case. So in this particular case, if I show here in the animation pan, so you will actually see here, there are 7 animations are there. So all these animations are here. So if I click on this and if I highlight here, then obviously this animation will come or will show. So based on that, you can actually use this. So it's coming up here. I have a color. Let me show the color so that you know exactly what it is. So this is the patch I have actually created for this one. So this, when I use for during the lectures, this is the white one, which you don't see in the beginning, but this is actually the one which I have created like a box. While speaking, I will just remove it so that this particular part appears. So when the presentation actually goes on, you actually will see that how it actually goes. So this is the box which was there. So now when I click on each thing, each different part of the lecture is being shown. So this actually helps the students not overwhelmed with your presentation. The same can be applied for mathematics teaching.
Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, one or last question.
No
So
problem.
this was, one participant is asking, Kopla Satish Kumar, Dr. Kopla Satish Kumar is asking, sir, what is the minimum speed of internet required to disseminate and receive and live online class effectively?
That depends on your internet speed only, because we have a very good internet at our place. So that's the reason many things can be done very effectively. Maybe the Tirupati sir had some problem because the internet connectivity at his place is not very efficient. Of course, if I also saw some of the people mentioning that due to bad weather or the rain and other things, the internet speed is also less. And of course, a broadband connection is always preferable. If you can get it, go ahead. And because I don't want to recommend which company is good and other things. So better than BSNL, there are private providers who can give a nice internet at your local area with a better speed. So go with them. And always you can also cross verify or check what is your actual speed. Say, for example, I want to know what is my speed. So there is something called speed test net is available. So that will actually tell you exactly what is the internet speed. So that actually you have to do basically. So when you do this testing, so I'll just can show like it will exactly tell you what is your internet speed. So when I click on go, because we are now doing the online streaming is going on. Along with that, I actually use a Airtel connection. So when I click here, so you will see the speed, how much is the upload and the download speeds you can actually see. So this speed test you can actually check very quickly. So now you see it like, I mean, our speed is like 16 Mbps or so. So that means I have a very good high bandwidth because we stay at Delhi, and this is, they have a, in fact, this is a 40 Mbps network where I am getting something close to 16 or 17 Mbps for the downloading. And if you look at the uploading also, we have close to half the speed, that is 8 or 9 Mbps. So I can very easily run a very good video streaming right now using this particular connection. But if you are in a dial-up connection, then it is going to be very, very difficult. So in those kind of cases, I will always recommend you record your lectures and you just upload it to your students. So that will be the best option for you because you don't have to spend a lot of time on that. Only time you require the internet speed is for the uploading only. So you can use your computer screen to record everything, whatever is there. So based on that, you can actually use your internet, whatever may be the speed, maybe 512 kbps or maybe 1 Mbps or maybe 5 Mbps, whatever may be the speed. You record everything on your computer and then upload it to the server so that only one time you will be connecting. Otherwise, if you want to run a regular class like this Zoom and other things, a better internet connection is required.
Thank you, sir. One more question from participant Radhika. She's asking if you know any resources have licensed softwares free to use for academic work. Can also
No,
tell,
which one
sir.
you want? Which one you want to do? Like recording or editing or which one you want? Be specific so that we can tell, because there are plenty of open source softwares are available. See this online things. Zoom is basically like, I mean, you have to just register. Google Meet is one thing because I always recommend that Google is a much better thing for doing many of the activities like Google Classroom you can use, that is also free. And Google Meet you can use and screen recording softwares, Screen Costomatic will put a watermark when you are recording. So that is the only limitations, and that also does only for 15 minutes, but it is a very good software. Active Presenter is another software. See, when you look at my presentation, you can actually see the list of softwares. So Active Presenter is free software which you can use it, and these are for creating your lectures.
He's saying that both for recording and editing, sir.
Editing has to be done separately. So there is a OpenShot editor is available. I have actually given lectures on all these things separately at different places. And if I can get the video link of them, I will just upload. Or maybe you can, I will send the link to Jagan Mohan Reddy sir. He can put it in the WhatsApp group or other groups later on. So there I have talked about how to use OpenShot for video editing, because OpenShot video editor is a open source software which you can use for editing. But of course, your computer needs to have some good quality CPU and the latest technologies. Otherwise, if you are using, say, for example, Windows 7 or maybe very old systems, then some of the softwares may not work in that one. So that is the reason I mentioned you have to be a little bit updated with your softwares and the computers or other things what you are having.
Thank you, sir. There is a last question, one more question. They're asking some that while the lecture is going on, a PowerPoint presentation, can we use animations? And like that they're asking.
Which animation?
Only animation. The question is not clear, I think. The animation. Simply they have mentioned animation, sir.
Okay, because animation has different ways for different programs. Say, for example, Autodesk Maya is one thing, but it is very heavy for normal people to use. Blender is another software which can be used. So these are like industry standards for creating animations, and Unity is another one.
Video recording.
For video recording animations, I'm sorry, because that is not easily available because you cannot easily do it, because video editing or video recording is pretty tough. So that has to be done by external people, those who are actually trained in that thing. Basically, they will use either, see the game developers, if you look at, so the game developers generally use these kind of things for creating their animation. So if we want to compete with the game developers, I think we are going in the wrong direction, because as a teacher, the best option is how simple you can actually explain the concept to the students. That's just sufficient. We don't have to be too fancy in creating our animations and other things, because eye-catchy animations are pretty expensive to create, and they also not necessarily serve the purpose all the times.
Okay, sir. Any more questions from the
Sir, audience, Jagan Mohan Reddy, sir.
Yeah, please.
Some of the audience are hand raised.
Yeah. So you give the permission to them. No
Yes, sir. Shyam Babu, sir. Unmatla Shyam Babu. Please.
Shyam Babu garu, మీరు
Dr. TV Ramana.
Dr. TV Ramana, please.
They can post the questions, no problem.
Please ask your question, sir. Ramana garu.
So,
Permission is given.
Yeah. So please unmute it. Audience, please unmute it. Yeah, TV Ramana, sir. Speak.
Sir?
Yes, audible.
Yes, please.
What about the arts teacher, sir? The creation of some screens in the website or the laptop.
Repeat the question. Please repeat your question.
It is very difficult. I think it is very difficult in the arts faculty.
Arts faculty. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How can we create the screenshots and other materials, sir?
Oh, so I had shown that you can see in your computer, you actually have a print screen option. So I will just show exactly right now. I am just clicking on the print screen option, and I go to the PowerPoint and I actually want to introduce it here. So I press Ctrl M to introduce another slide, and I go here and simply Ctrl V paste. So this is the screen we have actually captured right now, and it is pasted here. Okay. Now, if I don't want to show any of these things, I have various ways to crop this image. So there is a crop tool here at the top. So once I click on the crop tool, I can actually bring it here directly. So I just want to show only this part of my screen here to the people. So I just crop it from all the sides, and this side also, if I go here and crop from this side, and then come out and click on this. Now I'm done. So whatever I have to do, I have done right now. So there is another way I told, like snipping tool is there. So once I click on the bottom, when I type SN, so it opens up the snipping tool. So this snipping tool is now activated. So it will come up here, and when the snipping tool is ready, so this is the snipping tool which I have actually shown here. So here I have to just click on new snip. So the screen goes a little lighter, and I have to only copy this area. So I just highlight it using my mouse and other things. I just highlighted. So this is now copied here. Go to the file. Basically this is copied. So file, you can save this as an image, or simply you want to paste it, simply copy this image and minimize this. Come to the PowerPoint, simply press Ctrl V. So this is the image which is pasted now. That's it. So this way you can actually use a screen capture or the snipping tool to copy paste anything from the screen. So that way, say for example, if the website has some information, say for example, I want to use this particular things, and I want to copy this particular information from this website. Sometimes they allow me to copy the text. Sometimes they don't allow me to copy the text. So when they don't allow me to copy the text, what I can generally do is I go to the snipping tool and create a new snip and simply highlight this particular session, what I actually want to copy. So now that part will be actually coming to the snipping tool. So this is the one which was highlighted here. So that way you can copy even from the net where they did not give you permission to copy the information. So that is also possible. But when you are copying, just give the website address from which you have actually taken that information. Because at least to be on the safer side, tomorrow somebody cannot come and tell you that, okay, you copied from our website, but you did not give the credit to us. So always whenever you copy, just put the website to be on the safer side.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your nice answer. Any more, Srinivas? Srinivas, anyone is there?
Yes, Balasai, please unmute. B. Balasai.
Balasai garu, unmute చేయండి. Please unmute your. Are you there?
Yes, yes.
Please. Please ask your question.
So next,
Hello.
Balasubramaniam. Yeah.
Balasubramaniam.
Yes, Balasai is speak.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, can I
Balasai
comprehend
garu
one
matlad-
thing? Many of the participants, like from different background areas, like MBA, political science, psychology, so on, they are asking whether they have a particular software and hardware to be used while going for the preparation of the online content. Each
See,
subject they are asking. Can you please
no,
comprehend on it?
see, basically what you actually want to do is the presentation. See, the presentation, if they can be prepared in the PowerPoint, then directly you can use any of the softwares I have mentioned. So we generally use PowerPoint for our presentation of the slides. So we generally make use of that, and that is the most easiest and the simplest form. Other than that, another way is like, if they can write something in the piece of paper as I had shown, so they can also write and take a picture and if the sharing option is available in the software, because this is mainly based on the software what they are actually using. PowerPoint has lots of options available, and the education version, that is 365, is also free. So somebody has to register and you can get it, and you can use it for educational purpose. So the latest Microsoft Office softwares are also available free for the education purpose. And many other softwares, whichever are, you are going to use, you will always have a cheaper version at the educational, you have an educational discount. Say, for example, I'll tell you a couple of examples. The commercial version of Adobe's Captivate software is 83,000 rupees. And the same exact software with the same facility is 14,000 for educational purpose. The same way, if you go with the Camtasia, the commercial license for that software is around 23,000 or 25,000, whereas the educational software is 14 or 15,000. So every software has an educational discount, and always, if you want to use it for a longer run, just do some research which is actually useful, because screencasting, if you are going to use, Camtasia is a better software, because there you can record and edit. Both can be done in Camtasia. Otherwise, if you don't want to spend any money, you can also use OpenShot Editor. But when you are using OpenShot Editor for editing your video, you have limitations in some of the facilities. You can actually annotate the video. You can insert some things in your lectures. And of course, Active Presenter is another software which gives both editing and recording. Both options are available, but that also has certain purchase. You have, see, free words always have some limitations. Screencast-O-Matic has 15 minutes recording for the free software, whereas the original, I mean, if you pay and purchase the real version, then you have unlimited recording options are there. So everywhere, free editions are just sufficient for our purpose. So we can simply just make use of that and try to figure it out which works for you, because everything depends on, say, for example, if you go with any web-based one, you do need a very good internet connectivity all the time for recording. So if you don't have a good internet connectivity, but if you want to use online tools, so this is like I have a blade, but I want to cut a tree. You cannot do it. So there are certain limitations. The limitations are basically what is the facilities or technologies available at your end. That is the only limitation.
Sir, there are two more questions, sir.
Yeah.
One is from my roommate in the olden days, PhD, CL Channareddy, is asking, are there good teaching tools, links for online classes in political science and public administration subject, is asking, sir.
They can search the, I can share some of the OER websites. So basically the open educational resources, now this Shodh Ganga is also available where the students can deposit their thesis and other things. And many online, say for example, Yale, Cambridge, Oxford University, Stanford, MIT, Harvard, everybody had actually put lots of information on the online freely for the access by the academicians. So the only thing is, like, you may search the internet to find out what are all the best websites. So I generally use internet search only to get the best information. So don't simply stop with the first research, keyword research results what are showing up. You please go to the second page and the third page also, and also see the accuracy of information, because that is one aspect everybody is missing in the online, because whatever is given in the Wikipedia is not the Bible. Okay, so there are lots of misinformations given, and we all are fully aware and familiar with the fake news also. So don't take anything from the internet directly believing that that is accurate. So it is the responsibility of the teacher to cross-verify whatever the information you are taking from the net is actually accurate. So that actually is a little bit extra work we do need to do. So that is the reason when I was mentioning, I also talked about accuracy and relevancy. So the lecture has to be relevant to the people, and also it should be accurate. So this we have to do the check, because there is no way, like, I mean, currently there is no artificial intelligence tools available to do that for you. So better you cross verify and you make sure that you don't present anything that is controversial or maybe questionable.
Yes, sir. Very good, sir. Whatever you are saying, very good, sir. While we are searching second page, third page, also we have to check. So need to check the relevance. Very good suggestion, sir. Very good answer. And one more question, sir, from VSV Krishnamurthy. Is it possible to record a PPT with voice in Windows 7? If so, how it is?
No, Windows 7 actually is a very old system. So there, many of the softwares doesn't work. So it is not possible under Windows 7.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So, Srinivas, nobody is there, I think. Oh,
Yes, sir.
yeah. So, thank you, sir. Thank you, Balaji, sir, for your patience. And even time is 2:10 also. You are very patiently you are giving answers to our all faculty members.
No, but
And
see, they are the people who are going to change the world. So if I
yes,
can
yes,
at least help them out, I'll be
yes,
really happy, because we do it. For us, time is not a limitation. So
yes.
we are always available 24/7.
We are very happy, sir, that you are giving very patiently, you are giving answers to all our questions. And on behalf of our Aditya Vinaya University, I express my sincere thanks, and especially from the Skill Development Center, I express my sincere thanks to you for rendering your this 2.5 hours lecture, and by putting your efforts all together. So, thank you very much, sir. And we request you help our faculty members in these kind of online tools for the benefit of their career also. Those who are youngsters, so they will be benefited, sir. These kind of online
Yeah,
lecture
you can
methods.
share my contact, because some of the people had asked the contact details. So you can just share my contact details with everyone. Otherwise, also you can just search the net BS Balaji JNU. Then the first
They,
thing link comes up is mine. My email address is given there. My mobile phone is also given there. We don't hide anything, because we are open educational people. So everything is open to everyone.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your presentation and guidance. And now we are closing this session. Now we have our principal madam, Dr. Ramaneshwari Garu, who is working as a principal of College of Science and Technology, and she is taking care about the science college in a very active mode and a very encouraging mode. And now I request Dr. Ramaneshwari Garu, Principal of College of Science and Technology of Aditya Vinaya University, to give a valedictory session to address our gathering. Our speaker Balaji and Dr. Barla Tirupati is the two speakers of today's national workshop. Please, madam. Please, over to madam.
Thank you, Jagan Mohan Reddy, and very good afternoon. Already we are running late. I will not take much time. Maybe I will say it is the concluding remarks that I will present to you. And we are here today in this webinar because of the change situation that the COVID-19 is presenting to us. And we all know that in our lives, the only thing that is constant is change. And as teachers, we all are adapting to this change, and we have been there because every time the syllabus is updated, then the teaching methodology changes and so on like that. And amidst this COVID-19 pandemic, this has been, we are being facing with various obstacles, especially in the traditional teaching methods. And this is the time that we are supposed to evolve from the offline to the online mode. And though initially the change presents a challenge to all of us, I think learning to accept that, and by practicing the change, as Dr. Balaji sir has suggested, the practice will make it easy to accept this change. And I thank the two resource persons, Dr. Tirupati sir and Dr. Balaji sir, who have been very proficient in presenting the tools for going into the online mode for the teachers especially. And I think these tools will make the teaching more effective, teaching and learning also more effective. And at this time, I would like to congratulate Dr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, who has chosen the right persons. Like Tirupati sir has mentioned, and he has demonstrated to us the use of a live classroom. And Balaji sir has mentioned about how we can prepare our presentation and using the different software aspects. And he has patiently clarified all the doubts that have been raised by the participants also. It is not the proficiency of the subject is more important to be the speakers on a platform that is to be useful for the participants, irrespective of their positions. And I think, thank you very much, Balaji sir, for your elaborate presentation on this topic. And it has been very useful for all of us, if everybody agrees with me. And thank you very much on behalf of the university and on behalf of the Science College. And I congratulate Dr. B. Jagan Mohan Reddy once again for this providing this webinar to all of us on the university campus and also to the outside participants, which is the need of the hour today. Because let me tell you, from August first week onwards, we are also going to that mode, that is developing e-content for our own students. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Principal Madam, Dr. K. Ramneswar Madam, for your valedictory address. So, thank you very much, madam. I thank once again our webmaster Srinivas and the team Raghava for their efforts in making grand success of this national workshop.